As weight increases, manual transmissions go away, and electrification trickles into the market, pure enthusiast cars are on shaky ground. And that's why I'm going on a journey to find the best one and buy it. And I want to do that without taking any questionable sponsorships. To start this off right, we need to bring in one of the most important names in affordable performance and wealthy dad sports. It pledges to be fast yet forgiving, practical yet fun. So what better place to test the vows of the Golf than the city of broken promises? Briefly, to catch the rest of this series and other fun car content, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you. So first, is it fast? Yes. With a manual, you're getting to 60 in a little under 5 seconds. With an automatic, you're flirting with 4 in the right conditions. Even in high humidity, this thing is still a rocket ship. To the quarter mile, it's right there with muscle cars pushing almost 500 horsepower. Power comes from VW's long-running 2-liter iron block inline 4. Standard, you'll have a fine 6-speed manual transmission. The shifter is smooth and fairly precise, the clutch is easy to use, and it's the way to be the most involved in the angry Golf experience. But the gear ratios in the 6-speed could be a little more aggressive. So if you're not opposed to 2 pedals, the 7-speed dual clutch models have a tad more torque and a lightning fast shift time. You almost don't feel them at all. However, you hear them slightly with little backfires from the exhaust, especially in the race mode. For a car that weighs still under 3,500 pounds, 315 horsepower, and the more aggressive ratios of the DCT really makes this feel athletic. With a nice tune and an exhaust, this would be so much fun in a straight line. And even if you take it out of the manual mode, the sport mode reacts really well to your inputs. While the performance prowess of the DSG should not be understated, there are a couple of trade-offs. One, you can really notice that this doesn't have a smooth torque converter from a takeoff. It can kind of lurch a little bit, and it feels, well, like a clutch. And unless you have the transmission in its S mode or you floor it, this has the response time of a sloth on oxycodone. Seriously, it can take 3 or 4 seconds for this thing to take off. And even when it does have the correct gear, this does have more of that old school turbocharged engine feel. You are going to have to wait for that boost, but I think that adds some character in my opinion. Every Golf R will also come with all-wheel drive, and this has a few tricks. So it is a Haldex system. It can send a maximum of 50% of torque to the rear, which is less than what Toyota says the GR Corolla can do. However, this can send all of that torque to the outside rear wheel, which to me makes it feel just as rear biased, and from what I've seen done on not public roads, it's actually pretty effective at getting the rear end out. And I think that's the kind of gimmick I want to see in a car like this. Around corners, the Golf R is undeniably capable. The steering is quick. The suspension has some body roll. Even in its race mode, it's not a race car. I could see why some people might want it to feel a little sharper, but the confidence that it gives you, even on roads that you're not super familiar with, is dangerously high. Though what I do really wish they did more of was communication. This is more of a point and shoot kind of experience. Their steering precision is pretty good, but the feedback that you get from the wheel is less like a good teacher and more like someone that doesn't really want to have a conversation with you. It's not silent, you're maybe getting 2-word replies, but the response comes fast. The steering weight is appropriate too, even if it doesn't build up too much. This rips through corners. However, it has a split personality. It's mostly easy to live with. The Golf R dampens most of the light cracks and potholes well. It's just smooth. But horrendous roads will quickly find the limits of the suspension, even in comfort mode. But after driving my GR Corolla 500 miles, hopping into this thing has been relieving. And not just because of how smooth this is, but also because of these seats. The seat bottom is actually long, so even at 6'3", I am more than comfortable. And it retains bolstering for reckless highway maneuvers. The steering wheel comes out nice and far, so I can still lounge out and be able to reach the steering wheel without losing circulation in my hands. Plus, this not only has an armrest, it's adjustable. But even though this will cost you about $47,000, this is still based on a compact VW. Road noise is going to be more present than what you would get with a compact luxury car of the same price, and after 22,000 miles, there's a squeak or two in this interior. Yet it's still less vocal than my Toyota. Also important to this contest is longevity. Generally speaking, the Mark 8 Golf R and the Mark 7, with which it shares its basic powertrain and platform, have been fairly reliable and easy to own. The most common problems with Mark 8s appear to be a since-fix steering wheel issue that caused endless travel assist errors. The infotainment was also initially plagued with bugs and a slow response time. Many manual shift knobs were also breaking. The previous car was solid overall, with some of the weak points, especially early on, being the water pump, PCV system, and rear main seal. Other potential issues with the turbo and DSG were not unheard of, but mostly brought on with mods. Overall, stock cars have largely treated owners well. You also won't pay much at the pump, and outside of a couple problem areas, the interior seems like a nice place to rack up miles in. It also has a knack for versatility considering how tiny it is. The back seat is adult friendly if the front occupants are willing to make a little compromise. They also give you console vents back there and a pocket for phones. The trunk might not be super long or wide, but it's fairly tall and boxy. The storage in here is really good. I mean, I can fit a large bottle here in the door card. We have a deployable cup holder, and this is one of the most well-appointed cars in this ultimate sport compact segment, mostly because of the features. So not only do we have leather power seats with the lumbar adjustment, they're heated and ventilated, even heated in the rear. There's also a rather large sunroof and a head-up display and an ultra-configurable ambient lighting setup. The Harman Kardon speaker system isn't half bad either, and while it does cost more than any of the other sport compacts, the interior is actually a nice place to be. Even if it is mostly plastic, it feels much better built than something like my GR. But you already know there's one big downside to this interior that I need to bring up, and it's really just the ease of use of the technology. We have capacitive controls on the steering wheel, and then we have more capacitive controls down here to bring up digital controls in the infotainment, and it just feels like cost cutting to me. Is it awful? Not as much as it used to be. The UI takes some getting used to, but I appreciate the customizability, and the response time and resolution are also competitive. My biggest beef is that it takes more steps to adjust the climate, and it takes up the entire screen whenever I just want to change my fan speed or where the air is blowing. Even VW is starting to hear complaints. They're removing the capacitive controls on the wheel and lighting up those sliders. But unfortunately, the R will see those improvements as it loses one of the most important features to smile seekers. As good as this transmission is, VW's decision to axe the manual transmission for 2025 seems to be ass backwards, because 40% of these things were sold with a stick. And I think it kind of highlights a larger theme going on here. So we all know that the DSG is going to be quicker. But that's not all we care about, and it seems like VW is losing sight of that. The Golf R is a super hatch. With the dual clutch, it runs quarter miles like an all-wheel drive muscle car. It's capable and confident on a variety of roads. In comfort mode, it isolates the cabin well. The seats are supported, and it's as versatile as a computer science degree. All of these things make it one of the best sporty enthusiast dailies for the type of person who has another dedicated fun car. But that's not what this series is about, and I also think this goes against the idea of a hot hatch. This is a type of automobile that can be a good daily, but it's equally focused, if not more so, on entertainment. The soon dead manual adds in some engagement and character, but the lack of pizzazz with the steering and feedback, the power band that's most happy in the mid-range, and the focus on middling tech takes me out of the experience personally. There are a lot of people that love these for their Swiss Army knife appeal. And after driving all of its competition, I will attest that this is the most well-rounded car of the series. If that's what you love sport compacts for, this is the one. For me, it isn't. Hopping back into the GR Corolla reassures me of this. But with 7 very different cars left to drive, we'll see if my feelings stay the same. Thanks for watching. And thank you to the channel members and supporters who have helped make this series possible. I'll catch you in the next one.